You're listening to the MotherToBaby Podcast, medications and more during pregnancy and breastfeeding. Ask the experts with your host, genetic counselor and mama of 4, Chris Stallman.
Welcome to another episode of the MotherToBaby Podcast. My name is Chris Stallman, and I am a genetic counselor, a mother of 4, and a teratogen information specialist. As a teratogen information specialist, I talk to people, so patients, family members, and healthcare providers, about exposures before pregnancy, during pregnancy, while breastfeeding, and in cases of adoption. And an exposure can be anything. So it could be the chemicals you use at your workplace, it could be a vaccine, or it could be a medication or another supplement. And it's important to remember that an exposure isn't necessarily something that you should stop taking or doing, or something that could be harmful. In fact, there are some exposures that are actually recommended for use in pregnancy. And today we're going to talk about one in particular, folic acid. On today's show, we're lucky enough to have CAPT Jennifer Williams to talk with us about folic acid today. She is a nurse epidemiologist in the National Center on Birth Defects and Developmental Disabilities at the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. So Jenny works at the CDC. She's a certified family nurse practitioner. She has a PhD in nursing research, and we are very lucky to have her with us today. Captain Williams, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Chris. This is a very important topic that we're going to be talking about today.
I agree. So why don't we jump right in and let's start with some basic information. What is folic acid and why is it important?
Well, folic acid is one of the B vitamins. Our body uses folic acid to make new cells. Now, folic acid can be found in many, but not all multivitamins and prenatal vitamins. And it is also added to enriched foods such as bread, pasta, and rice. And it's added to some corn masa flour products and breakfast cereals. So why is this important? Well, it's important because in early pregnancy, before a woman even realizes she might be pregnant, folic acid is important to the baby's development. It helps form a part of the developing baby called the neural tube, which later becomes the brain and the spine. Consuming enough folic acid before and during early pregnancy is very important because it can help prevent neural tube defects, which are major birth defects of the baby's brain, which we call anencephaly, and of the spine, which is called spina bifida. To help prevent these kind of birth defects, CDC recommends that all persons capable of becoming pregnant get 400 micrograms of folic acid each day, and in addition, they should consume foods from a varied diet that contain folate.
And I'm so glad you mentioned that, not all vitamins or prenatal supplements have folic acid. When I was considering pregnancy these last 2 times, my diet had changed for some personal and health reasons, and I realized I wasn't getting enough folic acid based on the recommendations. So it's a good idea to check the labels and making sure that you're getting enough folic acid. Jenny, you mentioned folic acid and folate. Can you talk about the difference between the two?
The terms folate and folic acid are often used interchangeably, even though they are different. Folic acid is a specific type of folate that does not occur naturally. Folate is a general term for many different types of vitamin B9, including both naturally occurring and man-made forms, such as folic acid and 5-methyl tetrahydrofolate, often called 5-MTHF. Now, folate is found naturally in a variety of foods, such as leafy green vegetables, citrus fruits, and beans. Now, people capable of becoming pregnant should eat a balanced diet of foods rich in natural folate. But keep in mind that it's really difficult for most people to get the daily recommended amount of folate for neural tube defects prevention through their food alone. Also, folate in food is easily broken down by heat or light, so it often breaks down when you cook your food. Folic acid is the more heat-stable form of the vitamin B9, and therefore it's a reliable source of folate. Although several types of folate can be found in vitamin supplements, only folic acid has been proven to help prevent neural tube defects.
And Jenny, there's been a lot of talk recently and in the past about a gene called MTHFR in connection with folate and folic acid. Can you give us a little bit of information about what that is?
Yeah, I'd be happy to explain that. MTHFR is a gene that makes a type of protein called an enzyme that helps our body process folate. So everyone has 2 copies of the MTHFR gene, one from each of their parents. So many direct-to-consumer genetic testing companies are providing more and more information to consumers, and these individuals might get information about certain changes in their genes, known as gene variants. So, Chris, if you've been told that you have an MTHFR gene variant, it means that you have a different version of one or both copies of the MTHFR gene. However, the American College of Medical Genetics and Genomics does not recommend that people seek testing for MTHFR gene variants because MTHFR status does not change the recommendation that people capable of becoming pregnant should take the standard dose of folic acid to reduce the risk of neural tube defects.
Okay. And are these MTHFR gene changes considered common?
Yeah, so these gene changes or variants in the gene are very common. In fact, there are more people in the United States who have 1 or 2 copies of the MTHFR gene variant than people who don't have any. Variants in genes are, really what make us unique. For example, gene variants help to determine each person's physical features, such as their height, their eye color, hair color, and even their blood type.
Okay, so for people with an MTHFR gene variant, can they take the same folic acid as everyone else, or do they need to take a different form of folate?
So, first it's really important to remember that folic acid is the only form of folate that's been shown to help prevent neural tube defects. Second, even if you have 1 or 2 of the MTHFR gene variants, your body can safely and effectively process the different types of folate, including folic acid. So you may have heard or read claims that if you have an MTHFR gene variant, you should take other types of folate and not folic acid. However, this just isn't true. The recommendation is to consume 400 micrograms of folic acid, and this is what helps prevent neural tube defects in populations with many people that have MTHFR gene variants. There are no scientific studies that show that supplements containing other types of folate can help prevent neural tube defects.
Okay, so the bottom line here is that all persons who could become pregnant should consume 400 micrograms of folic acid every day to help prevent certain birth defects, and this recommendation would not change for people with these common MTHFR gene variants.
Yes. That is definitely correct. It turns out that the 2 most important factors that determine whether a person has enough folate in their blood to help prevent a neural tube defect are the amount of folic acid that you get every day. So you should focus on getting 400 micrograms, and the length of time you've been consuming folic acid. So we recommend starting at least 1 month before you want to get pregnant. So even if someone is not actively planning to become pregnant, getting in that habit of consuming 400 micrograms of folic acid every day is really important. Now, consuming more than 400 micrograms of folic acid each day is not necessarily better. However, if a person has already had a pregnancy or a baby affected by a neural tube defect, that person may need to consume more folic acid each day to help prevent another neural tube defect. So therefore, we recommend that they consult with their healthcare provider for the recommended dose of folic acid that's right for them. And as always, people with specific questions about their health are encouraged to talk to their healthcare providers.
I'm so glad you mentioned that, Jenny, because we get all the time, I know this is the recommendation, but, this is my situation. Do I have to take more? Are there any changes to what I should be doing? And you're absolutely right. That's something definitely to talk about with your healthcare provider. And again, hopefully before a pregnancy occurs, that way you can have the right amount for you. Speaking of that, how can people who can become pregnant get that recommended amount of folic acid each day?
Yeah, so folic acid is in enriched foods such as bread, pasta, rice. It's in some corn masa products, and many breakfast cereals are fortified with folic acid. In addition to eating foods with folate from a varied diet, such as leafy green vegetables, citrus fruits, and beans, people can get folic acid from eating foods with folic acid added to them and or by taking a vitamin supplement that has folic acid in it. Many vitamins sold in the United States have the recommended daily amount of folic acid that women need to help prevent neural tube defects. So taking a vitamin supplement each day containing 400 micrograms of folic acid is the easiest approach.
Great. And Jenny, we actually have some callers with some questions about folic acid. And on the phone, we have Martina, who is expecting a baby very soon and also has a toddler. Martina, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
So what's your question?
My question was, I want an all-natural supplement. How does this affect me?
Well, first off, congratulations, Martina, on your pregnancy. But to answer your question, no supplement is natural, as they are all manufactured products. Like we mentioned earlier, there are natural sources of folate. Natural folate can be found in foods such as leafy green vegetables, citrus fruits, and beans. A person should eat a balanced diet rich in natural folate from food, but just know that it's really difficult for most people to get that recommended amount of folate through their food alone. So just to put that in a little bit of a perspective, you would need to eat like 14 oranges or 12 and a half cups of raw broccoli or 22 ripe tomatoes each day to get enough folate from food. This is why we recommend a supplement with folic acid. And also, just remember, folic acid is the only form of folate shown to help prevent neural tube defects.
Now, I cannot speak for anyone else, but I can say that 12 and a half cups of raw broccoli would not happen for me during my pregnancy. I love broccoli, and I love broccoli. I really do. But yeah, that's such a good visual of, how much you would need versus, having it in a different form. And Jenny, we actually have another question from Kirsten, who's on the line. She had a baby just about 11 months ago. Kirsten, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Hi, thank you so much for being on the show.
Yes, thank you.
How's your baby doing?
She's doing great.
Great. Okay. What question do you have about folic acid?
So if I am interested in becoming pregnant again, I know I should be taking a prenatal vitamin, and there are a lot of different options out there. What is something I should be looking for?
Well, Kirsten, you should look for products that specifically have folic acid in the nutrition label. And it's also important to start taking your multivitamin at least a month before you decide to get pregnant again.
Great. Jenny, thank you so much for being here and for all this great information. My guess is that the CDC has more information about folic acid and MTHFR. Is that right?
That is correct. You can actually go to www.cdc.gov/NCBDDD/folic acid.
Great. Thank you so much for being with us today.
It was my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
It's such a valuable topic, and we're really glad to be able to put the focus on it. And that brings us to the end of this episode. As always, thank you so much for listening. And don't forget, if you want to be part of the podcast, so if you have a question or if there's a topic that you would like us to address, feel free to contact us. You can email us at contactus@mothertobaby.org. Don't forget to subscribe to the Mother to Baby podcast. That way you never miss a new episode, or you can go back and listen to older episodes as well. You can find us on iTunes, Spotify, or however you listen to podcasts. And also remember that Mother to Baby is here for you. We're here to answer questions about exposures, including things like folic acid and folate. You can reach us by phone at 866-626-6847. You can text us at 855-999-3525. You can reach us on our website at mothertobaby.org, and there you can chat with the specialist live, Or you can browse our fact sheets, you can find our other information, how to join a pregnancy study, and you can also find our podcasts as well. You can also email us from the MotherToBaby site. So that's all for this time, but thank you for joining us. We hope you'll join us again in the future. And remember, MotherToBaby is here for you. Take care.
MotherToBaby is a service of the nonprofit organization of Teratology Information Specialists and supported by the Health Resources and Service Administration of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. It's made possible through generous donations from listeners like you. To learn more about MotherToBaby, please visit mothertobaby.org.